It's time for the most in-depth data analysis video of the game week. This is your differentials for game week 4. Hopefully, there are some absolute gems in here. And look, I have been off to a pretty good start in terms of my differentials across the first 3 game weeks of the season. So I'm pretty confident in my ability to pick out players that are under 10% ownership in each of the positions that are hopefully going to give you a nice little boost in terms of your rank. And if you're after people that are more owned, I also am covering my updated watch list for this week at the end of this video, as well as my best 1 week punts. Again, last week, I had pretty good success with half of my 1 week punts. So I'm up to 5 from 8 for the season in terms of ones that have returned. And this week I've got my 4 best ones again. They feature 2 in particular teams, Newcastle and Liverpool, for those ones this week. And with that being said, let's not waste any more time. Smash a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and leave us a comment with a differential punt or 1 week punt that you're going with this particular game week. And that being said, let's go. So let's have a look at the differentials of game week 4 and some of the notes that I've got next to what potentially you might want to do with your teams or whatever. Now, one other thing before we really dive into this is, can you please leave me a comment whether you prefer the ticker to here where my finger is, or if you just prefer like the updated rank for like the week there. Let me know. I'm more than happy to go with either. It's actually easier for me to do it like this, but I'm more than happy to do the ticker as well with relevant information, with price rise and stuff like that. But I do need your feedback, whether you like it or whether you don't, whether it's too distracting, let me know. So is it worth taking a risk and moving for players who have just recently signed for a new club? So for example, do we just go for the likes of Isaac, who currently is under 10% ownership at Liverpool? Or do we go with Xavi Simons, again under 10% ownership? Kolo Muani, oh my God, I'm not going to enjoy saying that name. Again, another player that's just come to the league. All these new players, is it worth just jumping on board early doors in order to catch the price rises, potentially if they come, or potentially catch the points before you react when they do get the points and then jump to them? That is a question I'm not sure of the answer of. Normally I'd say I'd just jump in, but because I haven't actually seen any of these new players play, except for like the likes of Wissa and Isaac, potentially I want to wait. But there is a risk and reward. This could be very risky, but it could also be very rewarding if it was something that you were looking to do yourself. So teams with the good fixture runs at the moment include Chelsea, Leeds, Liverpool. So Liverpool and Leeds, they do have a nice couple of runs of fixtures here. Man City's one has got a lot harder, so has Brentford's. Aston Villa, Spurs, Bournemouth and Sunderland. Those are the teams you need to be aware of in terms of when we look at the fixture ticker in just slightly, probably about 2 minutes time. Burnley versus Liverpool, Newcastle versus Wolves, and Crystal Palace versus Sunderland. Those are the 3 really enticing fixtures this week. When I look at it on paper, Newcastle versus Wolves, that's at home to Newcastle. I can't see anything other than a clean sheet there. So you'd think all their defenders get immediate returns. Crystal Palace are obviously at home to Sunderland. Again, very similar thought process. You would think that those assets are really good, particularly from a defensive standpoint. And then Liverpool obviously go away to Burnley. Now, are Burnley going to put up a really hard task, or if Liverpool going to easily account for them? Will the XG numbers that have been going on there for Liverpool, like XG4 and XG conceded, will we actually get a more accurate scoreline based on the numbers they've been putting up through the first part of the season? Now, the next big question a lot of people are going to be asking, do you go with defenders with attacking potential, or do you go with defenders with the DC potential? Now, obviously, DC, there is only a guarantee of an extra 2 points, but it does mean if you do target one of those players, that they're more likely to get you those 2 points, whereas defenders of attacking potential quite often can go 3 or 4 or 5 weeks without any attacking returns. Then all of a sudden they'll go bang with a goal. So, yeah, again, that's something you need to consider. Also, players in form at the moment, FYI, Enzo Fernandez, great. He's literally got a goal and assist in his last 2 game weeks. Jack Grealish, Also, amazing form. Doesn't fit the requirements for this video anymore, but he is in great form. And Chalobah also has been in fantastic form for Chelsea as well. Literally all of the Chelsea defence has been, let's be honest. So the fixture difficulty rating as things stand, as you can see here, the teams really to look and target are Aston Villa. Obviously, they've still got those nice fixtures. I know that they haven't been good. I hear you. I'm an owner of Ollie Watkins myself. It's been highly frustrating, let's be honest. Leeds United, actually a pretty good fixture run for them. So like they're 4 million defenders, provided they're not yellow flagged. Maybe they're players you can target. Spurs, on theory, have a very nice fixture run. Now, I'm still unsold on them, but according to the fixtures, they're definitely at the top. And look, over the coming weeks, I will be adjusting it. So the left-hand side has all the nice fixture runs and the right-hand side has all the right ones. But I'm still waiting for the data to kind of like settle because I'm still basing this off the fact that we expect these teams to be good. Are they actually any good though? Liverpool, as you can see there, their fixture run looks a lot nicer now with only Chelsea away to come in game week 7. Chelsea as well, obviously, other than that Liverpool game in game week 7, still in a very nice fixture run themselves. And Wolves, got to wait one more week for them, but they are also in a nice little fixture run, and Newcastle look fairly good there as well. So all these teams you do need to be aware of moving forward over the next few weeks. So on to the goalkeepers for this particular game week, and Henderson goes to number 1 for me. So at 5 mil, he's already kept 2 clean sheets. The XGC per 90 being conceded by Crystal Palace over the first 3 weeks is 1.22. Now, they've played Nottingham Forest away. They've played Chelsea away. Like 2 pretty hard fixtures. No, sorry. They played Forest at home. My bad. I knew I was getting someone confused there. And they played Aston Villa away. So they played 2 pretty hard fixtures away and kept 2 clean sheets there. So I think their defence can't be underrated. And Dean Henderson has been doing an amazing job. Did an amazing job last year. He's well on track to back that up, but potentially even surpass it. He just looks really good on paper, let's be honest. Then we've got Petrovic, who has really surprised me. And I look back at the start of the season when I went with Sells and Dubravka and really think now that I wish I'd gone with Kelleher and Petrovic, because then I would have actually played Petrovic the last 2 weeks. Highly frustrating. All I'll say, it's been highly frustrating not having him because Sells has not kept a clean sheet. Petrovic has now kept 2 clean sheets from the 3 starts. Bournemouth's defence has actually been next level good for the first 3 game weeks as well. 0.95 expected goals conceded. And he's also been getting pretty good saves as well. Like, I just wish that I could go back and just change the keepers. I had so many problems with keepers in my team last year, and it's like the keepers are just bugging me again, but I refused to make a transfer after wasting so many of them on keepers last year, so I'm just sort of stuck with it until wildcard, and inevitably I'm going to get it wrong when I get to wildcard anyway. Coming in at number 3 is Donnarumma. Now, I expect him to go straight in as the number 1 for Man City. He'll start against Man United. It'd be shocking if he didn't, because they did not buy him to be a backup to James Trafford. Sorry, mate. You probably got sold to Garden River. I just can't see any world where Donnarumma doesn't go straight into that team against Man United this weekend. And for that reason, I think that he's going to be a nailed option. Like, they've literally brought him in. They're going to be paying him a mini fortune. There's no way he's going to be on the bench. There's no rotation risk. The dude barely ever gets injured from what I can work out looking on Transfer Market. He's going to be great value. Then we've got Vicario. Now, he still stays at number 4, and according to the fixture run, maybe he should be at number 1, and he is the top scoring goalkeeper this season. However, when you lose 1-0 to Bournemouth at home, that raises significant flags, and I actually think West Ham score against Tottenham this weekend. So for that reason, he does come in at number 4. Again, he's not a bad option, but the scary thing is, when you're making 4.33 saves a game over the first 3 game weeks, that doesn't instill me with great confidence that you're going to be keeping clean sheets. Like, if you look at the other 2 goalkeepers I've got here, 2.67 for Petrovic, 2 for Henderson, and then we've got Vicario at 4.33. That tells you that Tottenham are conceding a lot of shots on target. And believe it or not, Brentford did something very similar under Frank last year. So just keep that in mind when potentially you are picking Vicario. So on to the defenders this week, and look, let's be honest, one of these guys I've actually bought in myself, and if I was wildcarding this week, I would have all 4 of these defenders. Like straight off the bat, I won't even lie, I would have all 4 of these defenders in my team if I was wildcarding this week. Chalobah is just such great value into that Chelsea defence. You've got Kukurea, who's literally a million more, who's being outscored by this man. Now, Kukurea is not going to be getting you the DC contribution points. Chalobah, though, through the first 3 game weeks is averaging 9.07. His XGC, so per 90 that Chelsea are conceding while he's been on the pitch, is 0.71. Like, that is elite. He's obviously had an XGI of assists plus goals combined as 0.28. Again, I don't think that's overly sustainable moving forward considering he's a centre-back. But he's already got 1 goal, 1 assist from 3 starts and 2 clean sheets. What more is there not to love? Like, he's been so good. Roberto Hollis owns him. Fantastic play, mate. You've racked up more points from him and your team than my entire 4 in the back line for the first 3 game weeks. Just from pretty much just owning him. Unbelievable asset. Then we got Senesi coming in at number 2, 4.6, and he is the one that I bought into my team because I had the money to do it and I caught the price rise before it rose, and it was just an easy to Kuiper out Senesi in. Now, Senesi, again, is all about the DC points, and you'll notice there's a bit of a theme here. Chalobah, Senesi, Lacroix, all DC contributors. Livramento, the complete opposite, but Senesi just looks really good. As I said, Bournemouth's defence has been elite. 0.95 expected goals conceded per 90 is elite. 14.33 average defensive contributions per 90 as well is elite. 0.08 XGI per 90 is okay. But look, at 5.1% ownership, I'm actually surprised that not more people are jumping on Senesi. He looks like a fantastic asset, and I'm very thankful to have him in my team. And I don't have any hesitation in playing him any of the next 6 weeks. He's almost guaranteed you to get at least 3 points if they concede twice in any one of those games. And if he doesn't, then it's a minimum baseline of pretty much 4 points. And if he keeps a clean sheet, it's going to be at least 8, potentially even more. So I don't see any world where he's actually not a very good option to buy. Livramento, 5.1 million. Again, he is all about the attacking potential here. And look, I think he's going to be good. I think if there was a Newcastle player I want, he's the one I want the most. 0.09 XGI per 90, 0.53 expected goals conceded per 90 for Newcastle for the first 3 game weeks. Now, Liverpool obviously scored 3 goals off ridiculously low XG in that game against Newcastle. But outside of that, he has been unbelievably good. But if you're after the DC points from Livramento, you're not going to get them. You need to look somewhere else. It's like more like a Shower or a Dan Burn that you need to be looking at there. Livramento is not about that life. He's got no time for that, but he is all about the attack, and I think he's going to be a great asset moving forward. Then we got Lacroix. Maybe he's unlucky to be 4th on this list, but at 5 mil, again, Crystal Palace have 2 amazing fixtures straight up the bat. Now, he was stitched up in the last game week because he really should have got the DC points again for the 3rd week running. But again, he's averaging 12.33 per game, elite, 0.07 XGI. And again, Crystal Palace's defence, expected goals conceded per 90, 1.22. Like, it's pretty good. Like, I'm still shocked that he's only owned by 1.7% of the comp. Like, what is going on? Why are people ignoring him? Yes, I get the Munoz appeal, but why just not double up on the Crystal Palace defence? This dude, again, is going to be guaranteeing you pretty much every single week at least 3 points. I don't know. There's not much to not love about that pick, if you're asking me, and my honest opinion. So on to the midfielders, and we've got Enzo Fernandez comes in at number 1 now. There's every chance that he's going to go over 10% ownership between now and the deadline, up to 9.8%, and he's definitely someone I'm looking to bring in myself in my own team based on the updates regarding Cole Palmer. Now, if Cole Palmer is out, continues to be out, that means Enzo Fernandez is on penalties. So if Chelsea get one, he's stepping up, and that's extra. That's just great news. So for his first 3 starts of the season, he's had 2 goals, 2 assists. He's one of the top scoring midfielders. He might even be the top scoring midfielder in the game. 0.63 expected goals per 90, 0.13 expected assists per 90. Like, this dude is a machine. Don't worry about the DC points. You're not buying him for that. You're buying him for his attacking potential at a fraction of the price that Cole Palmer costs. So again, he makes a lot of sense on paper. Then we got Odango. Now, a lot of people probably sit there, why have you picked him over Damsgaard? I just really like him. I don't know what that is about it. But he's had 2 starts. He's obviously got 1 goal. I actually thought he got the assist for the Brentford goal against Sunderland, but he didn't. But yeah, again, his numbers are pretty good. 0.44 expected goals per 90, 0.01 expected assists. You want him in there because he's going to be getting those goals. And I think potentially, probably going to be better playing him at home. But at his price, you can get away with like wherever he plays or whatever. Now, his DC per 90 is skewed by that one game against Villa, but it's currently sitting on 11.45 per 90, which is going to definitely drop. He's not going to be averaging anywhere near that, but there will be the odd game where potentially Brentford play that way and he will then get them as well. Again, I'm still shocked that he's only owned by 1% of the comp. Then comes in Paqueta. Now, I said at the very start of the season, I thought he could be a decent shout. I'm still shocked that he's somehow dropped in price and he hasn't gone back up. Still sitting at 5.9 million. Again, 2.2% ownership is just ridiculous. From 3 starts this season, he's had 2 goals, the 1 clean sheet. He's averaging 0.39 expected goals per 90, but again, that's probably more the penalty than anything else. 0.07 expected assists per 90. Now again, his DC numbers I think are a little inflated. 10.67 per 90. I just don't think he's going to withstand or uphold that over the course of the season. I'd imagine he's only going to get it once every 5 or 6 weeks, not once every 2. I don't think that's going to happen. And then we got Tavernier. Now, lots of people are talking about Semenyo, but maybe you want a cheaper option. And Tavernier is actually a really good shout. Again, he's super cheap, 5.2% ownership. He's obviously got the 1 goal. And again, his numbers, underlying numbers, are actually really good. 0.3 expected goals per 90, 0.12 expected assists per 90. And he has a DC contribution of 10.57. Now, he also might be one of those players that drops off over the course of the season. His minutes aren't as secured as the other 3 assets I've got on the screen as well. So again, those are things you do need to consider. But again, the fixtures are all pretty nice. Like on paper for all these teams coming up, there's no reason to think that they can't continue to deliver returns. Dango's has obviously got the worst fixtures of the next 6 when you look at all of them combined. But again, nothing to panic about. And yeah, I just really like it. And it's an alternative to potentially going with a Semenyo. So on to the forwards. And look, Mateta stays at number 1 this week. He obviously did really well as the first forward. Again, this is another player that's probably going to go over 10% ownership by the time the deadline comes around. Again, he's actually only got the penalty from his first 3 games of the season. So, and that was, penalties always, there is a little bit of luck in that. But his underlying numbers have been not too bad. So 0.43 expected goals per 90, 0.11 expected assists per 90. He's just a good asset. With those next 2 fixtures, it's hard to look past him, if I'm being brutally honest with you. Sunderland at home, West Ham away. I mean, what more do you want? What more do you want? I just think he's going to be great. And I think that Crystal Palace has shown they're pretty fixture-proof. And he's obviously rested. He hasn't gone away over the international break, so he should hit the ground running. And now I've really gone for a couple of real punts. So Worcester comes in at number 2. I do believe that he will be the starting striker this weekend for Newcastle at home to Wolves, which should be an amazing fixture. And you would expect him to score in his debut based on what Wolves have shown us so far. He scored 19 non-penalty goals last season. 19 non-penalty goals last season. And he's arguably going to have better service to him this year at Newcastle. I just think he's a great pick. I think he walks straight into that team on this weekend, and I think he's going to be great. And he did average on like about 0.53, give or take. I can't remember the exact numbers. I could be making that up. But it was good numbers, like last season at Brentford, with better attackers around him, better midfield behind him. You would expect Worcester to deliver something similar. There's no reason why he can't beat Isaac for goals, like he did last year in terms of non-penalty goals. I think he's going to be great. And I think he's going to do the number 9 shirt a real justice there. Then we got Jared Bowen. Now, I sold him, obviously, in Gameweek 3. And now he's already finding himself on the differentials video because he's under 10% owned. He's a great asset. He's not going to get rotated. He's not going to get rested for Europe. He's going to play every single week. Obviously, he's got the 1 goal. He probably should have had a 2nd goal in that Nottingham Forest game. He just looks good. Now, I know the numbers don't really back this up. So at the moment, he's on 0.1 expected goals per 90, 0.07 expected assists per 90, and his DC numbers are nothing to write home about. But he is the talisman for West Ham, and I expect those numbers to significantly increase over the coming weeks. Like, they had a rubbish first 2 game weeks of the season. Let's be honest about that. I expect him to massively improve, as I do expect West Ham potentially to improve as well. We've already seen Nottingham Forest lose their manager. There's every reason to think that if Graham Potter doesn't turn it, Harry Potter, Graham Potter doesn't turn it around, he will be also out the door very quickly now that we're into the managerial sack season. Then we've got Kwalu Mani. Oh my God, I'm never going to say his name right. Kwalu Mani. He might as well be a bloody koala. But Kolo Mani, I'm not even going to bother try and say it again. 7 mil, he's a really tempting price point. Now, I don't expect him to start this weekend, but I do expect him to start pretty soon. I think realistically he's probably better than Richarlison, the pigeon, and I also think he's better than Dominic Solanke by a country mile because Dominic Solanke can't even get in front of the pigeon, so that tells you what you need to know there. It's just a matter of how quickly he makes it into the starting lineup, but he's going to be sitting there, and I reckon he's going to be a really good asset. Now, does he score this weekend? Potentially. Does he make his debut this weekend? Potentially. We don't know these things at the moment. So for that reason, we do have to sit there and wait a little bit longer for him, I believe. So on to my Game Week 3 best one-week punts and how they went. So I went with Milinkovic, and let's be honest, they were disappointing. Only 2 points in that fixture. It wasn't any good with that West Ham at home game. No good. Cunha, again, this one was disappointing. I mean, this could have been anything. Originally, I picked him over Mbeumo, over Bruno Fernandes, and look, honestly, everything went for him the first thing, so he's desperately unlucky he got 1 point. Then the next two, nailed. Sarr, he was brilliant. Realistically, he probably should have scored a second goal and he would have had over a double-figure haul. And then Erling Haaland, ditto, probably should have had more than the 1 goal that he got, but he also got 9 points. So again, 2 nice returns there from the Game Week 3 one-week punts. Kind of disappointing on Milinkovic with that nice fixture, and Cunha obviously getting injured. I can't account for that. But again, he looked like he was on for a big score in that particular game against Burnley, and I think if he hadn't got injured, he definitely would have returned in that one. So on to my Game Week 4 best one-week punts. And no, it's not Newcastle. I was just teasing you with that one. I've actually gone with 2 Palace assets with that Sunderland at home fixture, even though realistically I did strongly consider going with some Newcastle ones. And I've gone with 2 Liverpool ones in that Burnley away fixture. So let's have a look at Munoz. He's the one that makes it in here. Now, again, his expected assist 0.27 is really good. And I do expect him to probably keep a clean sheet and potentially get an attacking return here. Now with Sarr being out, he does increase the likelihood of him actually hopefully getting some sort of attacking return, which would be really good for anyone that does own him. Then we've got my boy Cody Gakpo. And look, this is probably the one of the few times he's going to make it until obviously we find out about the minutes. But I don't expect Isaac to be featuring very heavily. He's only played 12 minutes of international football over the international break. So you would think that would rule him out from probably starting in this game against Burnley. So I think Cody Gakpo's minutes for this game are pretty nailed. So again, I expect him. He's actually, when you actually look at the data, it's actually kind of scary. So there's only 0.1 expected goals per 90 for both Cody Gakpo and Mo Salah. Exact same number. But you pay 7 million, well, 6.8 million more now for Salah than you do Cody Gakpo. Then the assist threat, 0.17 for Gakpo versus Mo Salah's 0.12. So on every metric, Mo Salah is worse than Cody Gakpo. Even when that first lot of defensive contributions in that first game week against Bournemouth, Cody Gakpo's even overtaken him in that. I just don't know whether Salah, I don't think he's justifying the 53.9% ownership, but it's hard to say that he's not good value this week versus Burnley away. Now, I know his record is obviously, people will talk about that, he hasn't had the best record, but they haven't even played Burnley that many times while he's been in the Premier League, so let's be honest about that. I expect them both to be really good. I expect them both to get attacking returns, and it was hard to not look past both of them. And then the same thing goes in attack. Now, I looked at Haaland again against Man United, and you can probably argue that he's a bit stiff to miss out here. But I think Mateta, for a one-week punt, and realistically, he might be the forward in Game Week 5 as well, 2 amazing fixtures, I think he's just going to be great. I don't see a world where he's not going to be good this week, and he's going to have to deliver the poor performance in order for Crystal Palace to get the win there at home to Sunderland. And I think this is a kind of fixture that will that will favour him significantly. So those are my 4 best one-week punts this week, heavily dominated by the fixtures I went over at the beginning of the show. Crystal Palace and Liverpool players, let me know who your best one-week punts are this week, and let me know in the comments. So lastly, I just want to share my watch list for this week because I did miss this out on yesterday's video. I don't know how that happened. It just did. So at the moment, there's obviously been a slight change to my Game Week 4 watch list. Cucurella still remains there, as does Romero. Livramento is obviously there, but I've added Munoz and Senesi in for, I think it was Yoro and some other bozo that was there. And then Lacroix obviously stays there as well. In the midfield, not much movement here. It's just Enzo and Xavi and Paqueta in down the bottom. Semenyo, Dango and Grealish all remain from the top. And then in the forward line, Bowen comes in for Haaland because obviously I bought Haaland, so he can't be in there anymore. Richarlison's still in there, but that could easily become Kolo Muani over the coming weeks. I think I just nailed his name then. Wood also could become Igor Jesus. And like that Nottingham Forest sacking has massive implications for who starts in that team. They signed a bunch of Botafogo players under the leadership of Edu, and I expect them probably to be getting games when the new manager comes in. And that means that Igor Jesus plays where Wood is. I could easily see Igor Jesus becoming the main striker there and not Wood. I could also see Victor John overtaking Matt Sells in goals and Jair Cunha coming in the defence. It's going to be a massive watch and see on Forest, so that's got to be said that. Also, Ekatike could easily become Isaac in that watch list over the coming weeks. Again, we do have to see how he takes to life at Liverpool, but it is something that's going to have to be an interesting watch from here. So that brings me to the end of my Game Week 4 differentials to boost your Game Week rank and my 1 week punts. Let me know what you're doing. Which player do you like the most this week? Which player are you thinking of captaining? Also, now's the time to start letting me know what card calls you would like for the late mail late on Friday. Again, just leave it in a comment or I'll put a post up on YouTube or on X. Just whack a response in there. I will pick out the 8 best ones that I like in there. Remember, it's got to be one player versus another or something of that ilk, not multiple players. So just keep that in mind. And with that being said, I'll be back later on, probably on Thursday, with my transfer tips for Game Week 4, followed by my team selection and the late mail. So keep your eyes all peeled for that. And to do that, just make sure you're subscribed. And also, before you leave, smash a like on the video. I've been FPL D-Unit, and that's been your Game Week 4 differentials.